Today, Mommy is reading Oranges on Golden Mountain by Elizabeth Partridge. And I do apologize. Here is the illustrator, Aki Sogabe. Again, I do apologize for this name, but there it is right there. So today, Ava is outside playing basketball with her brother. So she said for me to read this book by myself. So I'm going to read it for you all today. For the second year in a row, no rain fell on Jolie's village. The rice ponds dried up and cracked wide open. The sweet potato vine shriveled and died. Only the orange trees clung to life. Every day, Jolie and his little sister May helped in their mother's orchard, carrying buckets of water to each tree. But when the stream dried up, there was no more they could do. The blossoms opened, smelled sweetly of orange, then withered and fell to the ground. Late one night, Mother knelt on the floor and dug up a small sack full of gold eagle coins. Jolie's father had sent the coins from California, a faraway place he called Golden Mountain. "It's been 3 years since your father died," his mother told Jolie. "All that time I kept these coins. Now we must use them. I will send you to fish with fourth uncle on Golden Mountain." Her mouth trembled, holding her sorrow inside. "At least in the fishing village, your belly will always be full." "I won't go," Jolie cried out. "I don't mind a little hunger." He threw himself on his mother, wrapping his arms tight around her neck. "I don't even know fourth uncle." "He is your father's brother," she replied. "He will be kind to you." Gently, she unwound his arms. "When you are gone, I can give your rice to May." Jolie stood still, the truth of his mother's words sinking inside him like stones falling in water. "I can't go alone," he whispered. "You are never alone," his mother brushed his cheek with her hand. "Your dream spirit, your Hun, will make sure of that." When it came time for Jolie to leave, his mother cut a dozen small branches from her orange trees and bundled them in oilcloth. "Plant them as soon as you can on Golden Mountain," she said. "In 5 or 6 years, when they are strong trees, they will be covered with beautiful oranges." Jolie was seasick on the long ship ride to Golden Mountain. He forgot about the orange branches. He forgot about his hunger. He didn't care that he was going to California. He wanted only to be home with his mother and sister. When Jolie's ship arrived in San Francisco, his uncle met him at the custom house. Everywhere Jolie looked, he saw white men with eyes of blue and brown and green, and their hair, red, brown, and even yellow. Some of the men frightened him with their wild, bushy whiskers, harsh voices, and strange smells. Fourth uncle brought Jolie to the fishing village and gave him the narrow bunk over his own in the sleeping house. Carefully, Jolie unwrapped the oilcloth package and showed his uncle the orange branches. Fourth uncle led Jolie high up on the hillside above the village where the soil was rich and crumbly, and the winds blew gently. Nearby was a spring with clear, sweet water. Together, they thrust the branches deep into the ground. Jolie wanted to tell fourth uncle how the thin brown branches made him long for home. But his uncle was a silent man, and Jolie was afraid to speak. After dinner, With the other fishermen, fourth uncle took Jolie to the letter writer. Jolie watched as fourth uncle spoke, and the letter writer made quick, beautiful brushstrokes with black ink. Jolie has arrived. He is safe, said fourth uncle. I will teach him to fish from the waters at Golden Mountain. When we have saved enough money, we will send for you and Maymay. Fourth uncle counted out 7 copper coins and handed them to the letter writer. How long, Jolie wondered, until they had enough money? The next morning, before the rooster's crow split the sky, fourth uncle shook Jolie awake. They ate big bowls of rice porridge, then slipped onto fourth uncle's sampan and sculled out in the marshlands. They heaved the rope nets overboard and waited for the tide to turn. As the sun edged over the hills, Jolie and his uncle pulled up the wet nets, heavy with shrimp and crabs and small fish. The ropes cut into Jolie's hands, and his muscles burned with a fiery pain. It was a good catch. Fourth uncle nodded in satisfaction. They took it back to the fishing camp, then sculled out again to set their nets. On the boat the next day, Jolie was sore all over, and his hands were rubbed raw. After the nets were heaved overboard, fourth uncle motioned him to rest on a pile of rope. Fog settled over the sampan, wrapping them in a wet, gray emptiness. Jolie covered himself with a piece of canvas to keep out the cold fingers of fog. Mother, he thought, if you saw me now, my belly is full, but my heart holds only sorrow. The boat rose and fell on the swells. In the place between sleep and not sleep, Jolie felt his Hun, the dream spirit rocking loose of his body. With a little splash, his Hun was over the side of the boat, a tiny flash of silver as he entered the water. Quick as a mackerel, Jolie's dream spirit swarmed through the gray-green waters of San Francisco Bay, out into the deep blue cold of the Pacific Ocean. Faster and faster he swam back to China, back to his village. He found his mother and Maymay out in the orange orchard. Mother, he murmured, flashing silver in the empty water bucket she held. Fourth uncle and I are working hard, but I am very lonely. When will I see you again? His mother's only reply was the plink, plink of her tears falling into the empty bucket. Day after day, Jolie helped haul in the nets full of gleaming fish and blue-green shrimp. He carried basketfuls of the shrimp across the splintery pier and threw them into huge pots of boiling water. Then he ladled them out, orange and steaming, to dry under the California sun. Jolie danced on the shrimp in wooden shoes, pressing and stamping, shouting and jumping until the shrimp snapped out of their shells. Then he sold the shells to the fruit growers, who dug them in around the roots of their apple, pear, peach, and lemon trees. Every coin Jolie earned he wrapped in the oilcloth and kept safely under his pillow. When Jolie's work was done, he ran up into the hills to water his orange branches. Someday, he whispered to the dry brown sticks, you will be tall, strong trees full of golden oranges. By the time of the fall moon festival, Jolie's back and arms had strengthened. His hands had toughened. Warm winds blew the smell of wild sage from the shore to the sampan. After so long on the boat, Jolie was comfortable with Fourth Uncle's silent ways. When the winter storms lashed the fishing village, Jolie helped the men drag the boats high up on the shore. Then he sat indoors with the fishermen. He listened to the click and clatter of the mahjong tiles, the shouts and cries of the men as they played. "Join us," said Fourth Uncle, moving over on the bench. "If you are old enough to fish, you are old enough to play mahjong." One night, a fierce storm filled the sky. Lightning danced between the clouds, and thunder shook the thin-walled sleeping house. Loneliness snatched at Jolie as he rolled restlessly from side to side. Just as he was falling asleep, Jolie's Hun pulled loose and shot up into the clouds. His dream spirit jumped on the back of Lung Wong, the Dragon King who brings rain. Together, they roared over the storm-tossed Pacific. Inland over China they swept until the clouds piled up against the high mountains circling Jolie's village. Far below, the villagers rushed back and forth, lighting red strings of firecrackers and beating on metal pots. They called to Lung Wong to bring rain. "Mother!" Jolie shouted, his heart filled with longing. But his mother's ears were full of the wild explosions of the firecrackers, and she never looked up. When the storms of winter cleared, Jolie threw himself into his work. He fished all morning with Fourth Uncle and danced on the shrimp in the afternoon. The fishermen invited him to go out at night on the big junk. They taught him to build a fire on the bow, throwing on wood to make the flames leap higher and higher. As the fish swam up to the light, Jolie pulled in the nets with the other men. Whenever he could, Jolie ran up to the hills. One light, windy day, he discovered small leaves on his orange branches. All spring he watered and tended the new saplings. He pinched off bugs and dug shrimp shells in around the tender young roots. The saplings flourished, sending out more and more leaves. Finally, 2 tiny blossoms appeared. Jolie put his face close and caught the delicate smell promising of oranges. He lay on his back under the saplings and watched the clouds drift across the wide blue sky. A breeze blew through the leaves and birds called in the distance. As the warmth of the sun soaked into Jolie's shirt, his Hun gently rocked loose. On a puff of wind, his dream spirit rose up into the sky and flew back to China. Dancing and spinning, he swooped down on his mother's small orchard. She stood empty-handed, the wind blowing through her clothes, rattling the dry leaves in the trees. "Mother," Jolie whispered on the wind, "the orange branches you gave me are strong young saplings now. The first blossoms have come." Soft as a butterfly wing, he brushed her cheek. His mother's hand flew up to her face. "May May," she called, "come quickly. The wind brings the smell of orange blossoms and whispers that our fortunes have changed." That evening, Jolie counted out 7 copper coins and took them to the letter writer's room. "Mother," he said, "the fishing is good here. I love the wind and the rain and the sea. Fourth Uncle and I are saving all our money to send for you and May May." The letter writer's brush made quick strokes on the paper. Jolie went on. The soil on Golden Mountain is rich, and the new trees grow well. There will be many oranges when you come to Golden Mountain. Your loving son, Jolie. Then Jolie ran down to the water and leaped onto the big junk where the other fishermen were waiting for him. The end. And thank you to everyone who stayed for the reading of Oranges on Golden Mountain. Thank you so much.